Sean McDermott got fired, but I honestly feel like it made the Bills' problems worse. For starters, McDermott was the second longest tenured coach in Bills history, and he was also 8-8 in the playoffs in his career. And it wasn't a firing that made sense, like how the Tomlin one was, oh, the system's stale, and it was kind of an expected thing that something will happen this offseason. It was just kind of out of nowhere. And you might think, oh, well, the Bills haven't been to a Super Bowl nor won a Super Bowl since Sean McDermott has been the head coach, and they were tired of it, so that's why they fired him. No. This was a petty firing. After the tough loss to the Broncos in overtime, Sean McDermott criticized the team, saying that this current team was not good enough to win or make a Super Bowl, which I think is pretty clearly obvious considering the fact that, well, they're not in the Super Bowl. But Mr. Negative of this entire story, Brandon Beane, former GM and very concerningly now the president of football operations over there in Buffalo, took what McDermott said extremely personally. And I know in the press conference with Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane, they said that the Broncos game was the main reason why McDermott was fired, which is just so outlandish to me considering the fact that the game went to overtime. And I'm a big time part of the Josh Allen fan club, but your quarterback had 4 turnovers. 4! So we all know why Sean McDermott actually got fired, Brandon Beane. And even if what you are saying is the reason why you guys fired him, it is nowhere near enough reasoning to fire the coach who has the highest winning percentage in your franchise's existence. Now back to Mr. Negative himself. Making himself president of football operations gave him the opportunity to be able to have direct responsibility in the head coach search. They ended up with offensive coordinator Joe Brady, which kind of felt like a cope, but also feels like he can be Brandon Beane's puppet. And there are so many different things that you could dive into about this ownership problem, but the biggest hitter recently was that terrible press conference last week. Pegula and Brandon Beane were asked about Keon Coleman, where they essentially said that he was a bust, which, listen, I know it's not the furthest thing from the truth, but you don't say that about a player who's on your active roster. And ready for this one? He blamed it on McDermott and his staff for being so high on Keon Coleman. Yet, McDermott was responsible for multiple cornerstones of the franchise. Deion Dawkins, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, the list goes on. Those were all McDermott projects. Now we move on to Brandon Beane's picks. Kyer Elam in the first round. Boogie Basham or Basham, Basham sounds cooler, in the second round. Ready for this one? Cody Ford in the second round. And there are so many poor third rounders that I can name, but there's just too many to list. But regardless, Brandon Beane is just so hypocritical in going at McDermott for the Keon Coleman pick when he has not made good picks himself. Now the question is, where do the Bills go from here? You could say, the Bills should just go into free agency, fill up some of those holes that they had. They have no money, and part of that I'm going to blame on Brandon Beane. Ed Oliver now yields a $24 million cap hit, and after a 10-sack season in 2023, he has played just 17 games over the last 2 seasons, which in my eyes is not worth the $15 million salary that they're paying him. And listen, I'm a pretty big Dawson Knox guy. He has his moments. He had his moments at the end of the season when Kincaid was injury-riddled. But why does Dawson Knox make $10.5 million per season to be a backup tight end? And let me add, Josh Palmer is getting paid $9.5 million more than you to have 22 more catches than you last season. He finished the season with 22 catches and got paid almost $10 million to do it. I don't know, the Bills just need so much. It seems like they haven't had a good receiver alongside Josh Allen since Stephon Diggs. And they have 2 key offensive linemen and Connor McGovern and David Edwards who are hitting the market this free agency. But the Bills have no money, so they can't bring him back. And listen, what a lot of these cap problems circles back to is the Josh Allen contract, which I'm not saying was undeserved in the slightest. He deserves every penny that he gets paid. But when you lock a guy like that up on such a long contract for such a hefty amount of money, it really comes back to bite you down the line. If you guys have any thoughts or suggestions on what the Bills should do next, just drop it down below in the comments. I'll try to reply. And thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you got to do to get us back on your feed again. Peace.